Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. So, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Or is it supposed to be if you enjoy? I don't know. I haven't got my sales pitch down just yet, but I'm getting there. Hopefully one day I won't have to say that garbage, but 83% of you reoccurring viewers are not subscribed. So anyways, to get to the topic at hand, it is January, it is a new year, and a lot of you are probably talking or thinking about or currently in the act of saving money or trying to figure out ways to save money. But there's going to be some social difficulties along the way. I know it's kind of hard to believe, but yes, there's going to be social pressure on you from other people who really don't give a crap about your best interest. I'm just going to point that out from the beginning because you're doing something out of the norm. So, years ago, the last time all this financial chaos happened, and yes, I think there's financial chaos that the media and the government and a bunch of people just don't want us to know about, like how they're hiding the job numbers, the real job numbers for like the last 4 years. There's like 1.5 million jobs that were never created, but they kept telling us were brand new jobs. And then a week or two later, it's like, well, actually, instead of the 500,000, it was really more like 150,000, but it's still up. Oh, the number of times they did that. It's just insane. So if you're watching this, you pretty much know that things are not good financially in the economy. And you're probably trying to think of ways to cut costs. So back in 2009, because I'm old, if you hadn't noticed, I was already not making a lot of money. And it was another year I didn't get a raise, and things were becoming more expensive. And my first wife had split, and I still had all the bills to pay, including hers, like her phone bill and her car insurance and her car payment. And yeah, it was quite the doozy. She was still on my health insurance, so that was coming out of my check. So, yeah, I had to figure out ways of saving money. And one of the things that I was already doing, because I'm poor, or I was poor, I would still say if you want to have a good mindset on saving money, just think of yourself as poor. I don't have the money to do that. Because if you don't have that mindset already, that's when you go out and say, yeah, I can get that new. Man, I'm only coming up with old examples here because I was going to say that new album by so and so. I can pick that up for $20. Does anybody do that anymore? Or am I the only person that's still buying records these days? Yeah. So, anyways, one thing I did was I stopped eating lunch at work. It was the culture, it was the norm not to bring your lunch, but to go to the cafeteria and spend the money that you had just currently made during the morning portion of your shift and spend it in the cafeteria for food that was not really all that great. Like the only thing worth buying there, and even this was overpriced, was chicken tenders. It's also one of the few things that you can't really screw up, right? As long as the outside is a certain color, you know it's cooked. It's pretty simple. They also had this weird breakfast pizza that was actually pretty darn good. But the number of calories and the fact that it was basically a slice of diabetes waiting to happen was also not good. This was served at a hospital. Talk about wanting repeat customers. So, because the food was overpriced, I started bringing my own lunch. I stopped eating in the cafeteria. And I started eating in the break room. And then people were just like, of course, this came from like others who were like higher in the pay scale. Like, somebody must not be doing good. Oh my God, where's your chicken tenders? Oh, yeah. And there's that peer pressure to go back to what you were doing so that they don't feel like they're wasting their money. It's not about like the image that you have. It's about how they view themselves. And if you start doing something different and they keep doing the same thing, they're afraid that other people are going to catch on and start doing what you're doing instead of keeping with the status quo, and then they're going to be the oddball. When in reality, there's just a shit ton of people out there that just need to find ways of saving money. And you're going to find this with your friends too. Not that anybody goes to the movies anymore, but that's one example. Hey, are they still making Marvel DC movies? I don't know. Uh, the new Star Wars, no, that kind of went to shit too. The new movie that's coming out. Hey, we're going out this weekend, and you can think to yourself, I really don't have the $15 plus concessions to spend on a movie for 2 hours. I could really use that money and put it towards X, Y, and Z, right? But you're going to have this. You're going to have this peer pressure of things, of people who might be in a similar situation to you, but they're in denial. They want to stay in denial. And they want you to come to them with them to Denial Island, where they can just live frivolously in their denial, racking up more debt, not being able to pay their bills. But as long as everybody else is doing it, it's the norm. So yeah, I call it leaving the cult of society, because society is a cult. There are certain things that are expected of us. We're to be consumers. We are to have 9 to 5 jobs. We're to have mortgages and car payments and have really shitty health insurance that we're not supposed to argue with because it's a privilege to have this thing that doesn't pay our bills. We are to have mountains of debt. They want us to have more credit cards. They want us to go on vacations to put it on our credit cards. So we can say we had a good time and that we won't leave our jobs when we come back from our vacation because we now have to pay off that credit card that we just put it on. This is the cycle they want us to stay in. And when other people see us start to break away from this and get out of this debt prison, this thing that we know we can't continue doing, they're going to try pulling you back. Because heaven forbid anybody else change the status quo. They'd have to start looking at themselves and their own debt and how they're living their lives. And good Lord, if they did that, the panic that would set in. Like, I knew people years ago, and I don't know what their situation is now, but I knew one guy. He went to school for IT. He had like $70,000 in student loan debts. And like 10 years later, he hadn't even started paying on them. He just kept defaulting, not sending anything, no payments whatsoever. He even joined the military because they're like, hey, here's a $40,000 bonus you can put towards student debt because you'll have this rank when you sign up and blah, 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 blah. And he's like the third or fourth guy I know that never got that bonus. Because the thing to keep in mind when you join the military, whether it's the Army, the Navy, Marines, whatever, like, you are now their property. You don't have constitutional rights. You can't argue with them or fight them with anything. Like, if they're going to tell you, like, no, you don't get that bonus for whatever reason we can come up with, which they will find a reason. Like, unless you happen to be blowing somebody up high who has some type of leeway as to what gets passed and what doesn't, you're shit out of luck. You're just another number. You're a GI. You're generally issued their bullshit. And he learned that the hard way. And he didn't put any of his National Guard checks towards his student loan debt. And he just kept filling out the paperwork. I want my $40,000. And then once he was out after 4 years, that was it. Like, there's still no bonus. So even when these people try to take the easy way out, it doesn't happen. And I know another guy that, oh my God, he had this house, and it was a decent house, and it was a decent house in a decent neighborhood. And he got it for a reasonable price, surprisingly, considering like the time frame that he bought this house. But he got it for a decent price. And at one point we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I got X amount of dollars in savings," and I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty damn good." And then he started talking about some of his other finances and how well he was doing, which I don't know. The weird thing was the money that he had in his savings account was almost the same amount of money he owed on the house and their 2 cars, but that didn't include the $90,000 that him and his wife had for student loan debt. And I was like, you realize that if you took the money in the savings, which you're getting 0 interest on, right? At this time, interest was 0. Okay, I would get statements from the bank where I'm like, you spent how much money to tell me I made 10 cents on my savings account? Are you serious? But no, I was like, even if you just paid off one of these things, you could take that money and start paying these off, because the interest alone is going to kill you over time. And he's like, no, it's fine. We talked to a financial advisor and blah, 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 blah. And, we like doing this and that. And I'm just like, if you had no debt, you'd be able to do whatever you wanted. Like, why not just pay it off? You are charging yourself interest for God knows how long. This is insane. Like, yes, I'm poor. Yes, I have no debt. But keep in mind, my paychecks are mine. Like, I don't understand what you're doing here. Oh, well, it's gaining it. You're racking up interest in all of your other bills is what you're doing. You are stealing from yourself. But I'm a dumb shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I just have no debt. I don't I don't understand how the world works. And you're going to hear a lot of that too, right? You're going to hear a lot of, what do you mean you don't have a car payment? Who the are you to think that you don't need to have a car payment? I've had the same car since 2008, and it's almost 25 years old. But I have had no car payment for over 15 years now. Yeah. I think it's been like, no, I think it's been like 12 years since I've had a car payment. That's freedom. That's what people, I hope people are looking to achieve. The other thing I'm not doing this year, there's a lot of things I'm just not spending money on. And my oldest daughter got into Pokemon when the whole McDonald's card thing happened. And she was like, this is a game? And I was like, yeah, it's a game. I was familiar with it. I didn't know how to play it. So I started buying the cards for her, and we were getting these battle decks, and we started playing this stuff. And it has gotten to the point where it's like, I can't even afford to like pick up a pack if I wanted to. Like, unless I find a hell of a deal on clearance somewhere, which this stuff rarely goes on clearance, and when it does, you just have to, it's luck. Like, you walk by, you see the red sticker on, and you're like, oh, shoot, okay, score. That's about it. Like, things have gotten crazy. Every market has gotten crazy. All of them. And I'm starting to see that even with something as trivial and childish as Pokemon. And it has a lot to do with these people investing, assholes. They did the same thing with the comic book industry, which I was a big comic book collector back in the day. And now it's like the whole industry has just been decimated from what happened back in the 90s. But Pokemon's doing the same thing right now. And I know it's a little off topic, but I'm not buying any this year at all. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to it. Like, we've got plenty of cards and decks to play if she wants to play. And I can't remember the last time she wanted to play. I was doing this thing where I'd stop into the shop, and if I had a couple extra bucks, I'd flip through the book and see what people traded in. Because there might be a really cool looking card that's only like a couple bucks, and I'd pick that up. I'd pick up a few others, and I was filling these binders with these really cool cards that I found, because I was like, 15, 20 years from now, the kids might be like, hey, remember we used to play that? And I can get the cards out and be like, yeah, I still have all these. And who knows? If you don't want them, they might be worth something. They might end up being my retirement. I don't know. I have a feeling it's one of those things that's just going to crash. I'm going to be like, it's another thing that's just going to get stored away because it's going to end up at some weird freaking antique booth in like 30 years. Where people are going to be like, hey, these are cool. I remember these. And then you're selling them for pennies on the dollar. But that's where we're at. Like, people are trying to save money. Other people are going to give you shit about it. You got to cut costs. And it should be easy for you. That's the thing. You know what you need to do. But then because of other idiots in your life, whether it's your work life, your friend life, they're going to give you crap about it. Oh, he's too good to hang out with us this weekend. No, I don't want a $50 bar tab. Okay? I'd rather just spend $5 on a six pack, sit at home, and the cheapest thing to do is to just not even buy beer. That's the cheapest option. Staying home, eating at home are good things. If you want really, really, really cheap, grow some of your own food if you've got the property to do it. I'm not saying a lot of property. If you rent a house and it has a little yard, ask if you can put a square foot garden in it and grow some of your own fresh herbs and vegetables. That's an option. Pick up some of those 99 2 for $1 packs over at Dollar Tree for seeds. There's so many like simple solutions that people just don't want to do. And a lot of it is this mentality of like, well, that's work. And I already work. Yeah, and then you hand over the money that you worked for to other people for convenience. This isn't going to be convenient. It's going to be hard. You're not going to want to do a lot of these things. That sucks. It's life. I've been there, been doing it, have done it. And that's the way things go. Cutting corners. And then getting crapped on for it. That's the kicker right there. Keep on typing.